Sasuke's sight when he spotted Team 10. Of course, the first group they'd run into when they came home was the one that held not one, but two of his worst fangirls.
"Oh, hey, you're back!"
Naruto shouted before hurrying over, her two teammates following close behind her. That escort mission sure took a while, didn't it? How did it go? Team 7 exchanged glances. Their C-rank mission turned A-rank mission had been one giant clusterfuck that none of them wanted to talk about. It was nothing special, Shikamaru answered. Routine, Sasuke added. Hinata nodded along with their lie. Yeah, I know, right? Kiba said. After you guys got a C rank, we asked for one too. We just had to deliver a message to some remote outpost in the land of rivers. We came, we delivered a message, and we left. Nothing happened! No bandits or anything. A total letdown. Yes, how terribly boring, Shikamaru said sympathetically. Sasuke was impressed that he could say that with a straight face. Of course nothing happened, silly, Sakura said. We're at peace. I mean, what were you expecting? Random rogue ninja on our first C rank? Sakura is right. I mean, that would simply be ridiculous, Shikamaru said. Anyway, now that you guys are here, I wanted to organize another one of those rookie get-togethers, Naruto said. I didn't realize how difficult those would be to plan with 3 teams that will regularly be taking missions outside of Konoha. We'll all be there, Shikamaru promised. Naruto was surprised that Sasuke allowed Shikamaru to speak on his behalf like that, but he wasn't going to test her luck by drawing attention to it. Great! In the meantime, why don't Sakura and I treat you to lunch, Sasuke-kun? You must be starving for some good food after living on rations for so long. And that was Sasuke's cue to leave. No, he said, before starting to walk home. Both girls looked crestfallen, but sadly for him didn't want to give up so easily. Wait, we know this place where they are serving stir-fried tomatoes and eggs today. You like tomatoes, right, Sasuke? Hold up! And they started to chase after him. Before disappearing behind a corner, Naruto turned around and shouted, It was nice to see you again, Hinata! And then she was gone. Hinata sighed. Such was the extent of the friendship between her and her idol. Using her hair as a weapon was all well and good, but Naruto really hoped to get some long-ranged options with her element, so she asked Asuma for advice. Whether he would give any was up in the air with his find your own way kind of approach, but it never hurt to ask. Alright, show me how far you've progressed in nature transformation, Asuma commands and hands her a flat pebble. After Naruto had demonstrated her ability to easily cut leaves apart, he told her to try the same, but this time with rocks. He said that she didn't need to cut the rocks in two like the leaf, but she should still be able to leave deep scratches. Naruto held the pebble between her open palms, gave a loud shout of "Ha!" and showed the little rock. Sure enough, a thin deep cut could be seen running over the rocky surface. That's supposed to take a normal person much more than a year to master, Asuma thinks ruefully to himself. Alright Naruto, I think it's time I gave you a jutsu. Really? Naruto was suddenly all excitement and Asuma could swear he actually saw stars in her eyes. Yes, really. I'm going to give you the hand signs for the wind release breakthrough. While I want you to discover your own techniques, there's also no point in reinventing the wheel. This technique is basically the wind version of the fireball jutsu and is just as simple in concept. You just blow a large gust of wind from your mouth and that's it. I've no doubt you would eventually come up with something similar if left to your own devices anyway. There was also the fact that Asuma knew that the Chunin exams were coming up soonish. Letting his students discover their own tricks was all well and good, but he was going to bet a large amount of money that Naruto was going to win the whole event. Sweet! Naruto cried and ran towards Sakura so she could share the good news. The base technique wasn't that complicated, and so she was soon ready to give it her first attempt. Sakura and Kiba also made sure to come and watch. Alright, Naruto said. Can you give me an idea about how much chakra this jutsu needs, Asuma-sensei? Don't worry, it's impossible to put too much chakra into this. The more chakra you pour into it, the stronger it will be. Just be sure to also use chakra to hold onto the ground with your feet. This will likely create a massive amount of knockback for you. I was hoping you'd say that. Naruto grinned viciously and flashed the hand signs. Dog, horse, bird. She breathed in deeply. Wind-style breakthrough! Kiba and Sakura had to shield their eyes from the force of the blast. Asuma had to admit it sure looked impressive. All the same, he was disappointed when he saw the proud smile on Naruto's face. This was nothing to be proud of in and of itself. Wow, Kiba yelled. There is no way you can still be considered a genin when you are packing that kind of power. Man, I'm jealous. Why can't I do that? There's a lot more to being a chunin than raw power, Kiba, and that technique wasn't nearly as impressive as it looked. What? Did I need to use even more chakra? Naruto asked. Dear Kami, no. But well... You know what, it will be easier to show you. And Asuma went to stand some distance from Naruto. Alright Naruto, when you're ready, use that same technique and fire it right at me. Are you sure, Asuma-sensei? I'll be fine. Now do it. Naruto fought past her uncertainty at using such a powerful attack on her own teacher. Maybe he wanted to demonstrate how easy her jutsu was to block or dodge. Wind-style breakthrough! Contrary to what they expected, Asuma didn't try to block or dodge or anything. He simply closed his eyes and allowed the jutsu to hit him full on and carry him off of his feet. He was tossed a small distance away and rolled for a much larger distance over the ground until the artificial storm ended. When it did, Asuma simply stood up and wiped some dirt from his clothes. Do I look injured? He asked. No, Naruto said, and she understood the point that Asuma was making. You just poured more chakra into a jutsu than what 3 normal genin put together can muster, and all it did was knock me off my feet. What was one of the first things I taught you about using wind release? Using it as a blunt tool is a waste, Naruto said. Indeed. Wind doesn't have the robustness of earth to pulverize your opponent. Water too can carry a lot of blunt force. Fire and lightning use other means to make your enemies' lives short and miserable. Wind doesn't have any of that. You have to make it sharper. Naruto finished for him. Just so. That or focus it more. Or direct it to toss your opponent into the air so they take falling damage. Great Breakthrough is a good starting point, but I expect you to modify it and personalize it from here on out. Yes, Asuma-sensei. And so life would progress as normal for the 2 months between the wave mission and the Chunin exams. Naruto continues her efforts to create regular events that allow the rookies to keep in touch, and more importantly for her, offered her the chance to spend more time with Ino, and as a nice bonus, be in Sasuke's general vicinity. Sakura learned of a way to use genjutsu, though she didn't share her method with anyone but her own team. Kurenai told her that for genjutsu users, more than for anyone else, it was important to keep the secrets of their jutsus, well, secret. Naruto, being the sociable person that she is, also tells everyone of her brief meeting with Team 9, which gets Sasuke all excited to fight Lee. Sasuke actually seeks Lee out before the Chunin exams are even announced and gets thoroughly trounced by him. He doesn't take his loss nearly as well as Naruto, though it has nothing to do with Lee being supposedly talentless. First Haku, then Lee. He was supposed to be the best. Nothing less than that would give him any sort of chance against Itachi. Naruto also tried to include Team 9 into her little get-togethers. But she only tried that once. The first problem was Lee and his insistence to flirt with Sakura. In Naruto's mind, Lee simply wasn't good enough for Sakura. Hell, Sasuke probably wasn't good enough for Sakura, but that was Sakura's own choice. The second and more important reason was the near tangible tension between Hinata and Neji. She didn't know what was up with those two, but it was clear Neji didn't want to spend any more time in Hinata's presence than he had to. And Hinata became even more withdrawn when he was around. Naruto hadn't even known that was possible. Everyone continued to practice the basics like speed, strength, reflexes, chakra control and all that good stuff. But I also assume they all did this in canon as well, so that isn't that relevant. You could make the argument that Kakashi might put his Genin through a little harsher training, but I don't think so. It isn't like Team 7 didn't come close to death during the Canon Wave mission, so I don't see this as having an impact. If anything, Kakashi will simply be more reluctant to give Team 7 a more dangerous mission until they are all up to par. Sasuke is training as hard as he can between missions to get to the level he feels he needs to be, but again, I assume he did this in canon as well, so that doesn't make a difference. Canon Sasuke did get his ass handed to him by Haku as well, so it isn't like these feelings are new to him in this alternate universe. That initial meeting with the Sand siblings just doesn't happen the same way because Konohamaru doesn't end up running into Kankuro. Naruto, Sakura and Kiba just see him and Temari and ask them whether they have permission to be here, and they show their papers. Temari may act a little condescending about them not knowing the reason why they are there, but nothing severe enough to cause a scene. Certainly nothing impressive enough happens to draw Gaara's attention. Kiba does smell him hanging upside down from a tree, and Akamaru's animal instinct do tell them he's bad news, but that's about it. Teen 10 continues on its merry way, and Naruto continues to enjoy one of the last days of what she would later think of as the best period of her life before it all went to shit. On the last day before the start of the exams, wind-style cutting breakthrough! The poor tree that served as her target just kind of turned into timber. For reference, Naruto's attack resembles the attack Temari used to one-shot Tayuya. How is that for an improvement? Naruto says, grinning and turning towards Asuma and her team. Kiba scowls. So now you're deaf at long range too? Man, this stinks. I mean, I am happy for you, but I can't help but feel like you're leaving us in the dust. I mean, we train just as hard as you, it's just not fair. Sakura had already made her peace with the gap that existed between her and Naruto when it came to pure destructive potential. So long as she remained good enough to at least be able to support her, she wouldn't let it get to her. Good job, Naruto. Now nobody except for Sasuke's team will be able to match us. Well done, Asuma said with a large grin. He could practically feel his bank account growing larger. Well, old man, I hope this is enough to satisfy you. A few days earlier. Under the name of Asuma Sarutobi, I too nominate my team. After the brief spat between Kakashi and Uruka, the Hokage dismissed everyone. Kakashi, Asuma, please stay for a while. The two Jonin exchanged clueless looks and waited for the rune to clear. I want to hear your honest assessment of Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha's development. Kakashi shrugged. He's well beyond what is normally expected from such a fresh genin. As expected from an Uchiha, I suppose. I'll be honest, if it wasn't for Naruto, I might not be so sure about nominating my team, Asuma says. As it stands, there is a very real chance Naruto will simply carry the other two to the finals. Don't get me wrong, Sakura and Kiba are both developing at a steady rate in their chosen fields, but, well... Asuma shrugs. Raw talent does matter. I imagine it's the same for Sasuke compared to Hinata and Shikamaru. Kakashi just hums vaguely in response, thinking how lucky Asuma was that Guy wasn't here to argue. All the same, I believe they will all benefit from the experience. The Hokage smiles. So how long before she surpasses you? Asuma just laughs in response, until he realizes from his father's expression that he is serious. He considers the question. Maybe a small decade? That long? Sarutobi looks honestly disappointed. Hey, I'm no slouch, Asuma protests. So I'll need to hold on for another 10 years, huh? Sarutobi looks tired as he puffs his pipe. It took a while for Asuma to get what his father was implying. Whoa, it's way too early to think of Naruto as a Hokage. She's still just a kid. Children eventually grow up, Asuma. The Hokage looks down at his hand. filled with wrinkles from old age. I should have retired over a decade ago. Every year I feel my body grow slower. Tell me, if I die tomorrow, who could replace me? Jiraiya adamantly refuses the position. Tsunade refuses to so much as return home. Or would you like to take the position, Kakashi? No way, I'm not nearly qualified enough, Kakashi answered. To him, the Hokage should be someone on the level of Minato or the Sannin, and Kakashi wasn't sure he'd ever reach such heights. Not to mention how after all his life's failures he didn't think he could ever be worthy of the position. Besides, he kind of liked the idea of Minato's child becoming the long-reigning Hokage that her father never could be. Sarutobi nods, having expected that answer. As I grow older, thoughts of who will replace me become more and more prevalent in my mind. And so you ask after Naruto and Sasuke, the most promising ninja of their generation, Kakashi states. I'm not sure if Sasuke has it in him to be Hokage. He might be strong enough for it eventually, but he doesn't really have the charisma. At least not yet. And the situation between him and Itachi would need to be resolved first. Not to mention that being the Hokage would make it more likely that he'll eventually discover the truth about the massacre, Sarutobi adds in his head. He looks to his son, wondering his view on the idea of his student one day taking the hat. Naruto does have the charisma for it, that's true, Asuma admits. But I still think it's way too early to be thinking these things. She's completely untested and hasn't even seen any real combat yet. That's part of why I nominate my team actually. Yes, and even if Sasuke and Naruto did suddenly gain the strength of Hokage, neither of them are well known enough, Sarutobi says. The Hokage's reputation, even more so than his actual strength, is what protects the village. Hence why Minato, as a war hero, was perfect for the job. And it's why I, even as I am growing weaker, am still fit for the job. Many still remember what I was like in my prime. Realization struck Kakashi. And we're in a time of peace, which limits the opportunity for the new generation to build a reputation for themselves. Hence the Chunin exams. A relatively safe way for Sasuke and Naruto to gain international prestige. Indeed. So tell me, do you think Naruto and Sasuke would do well on the exams? Good enough to truly impress people? Maybe, Asuma says uncertainly. If it's like this, maybe it would be wise to hold them back for another year. If you can give me another year, I can guarantee no normal genin will be able to even touch her anymore. The Chunin exams are held in Konoha this year, Sarutobi points out. Asuma understood what his father was saying. Having Naruto, Konoha's Jinchuriki, do the exam in any village but Konoha would be extremely risky. Any overt moves on her would immediately provoke an all-out war, but the Ninetales was such a powerful prize that might not stop them. After the shit Kuma tried to pull with the Hyuga a couple of years back, it definitely wouldn't be out of character for them. The same applied for Sasuke actually, if to a lesser extent. Prepare your students, Kakashi, Asuma. A lot more than a simple promotion could be riding on the results. And that's where we're going to leave things for now. And concerning that last scene, as someone who plays a lot of Crusader Kings 2, let me tell you that when you have a ruler who's like 68 years old, and you don't have a good successor all lined up and ready to go, you are seriously starting to worry. So yeah, I hope you'll join me next time for the start of the Chunin exams in part 15. Nikes out.